Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting, Monday, October 27th. This meeting is being recorded and aired live on LCTV and is also being live streamed. You can find the link for live streaming on the town's website at longmeadow.org. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Longmeadow School Committee maintains educational policies that foster continuous improvement by challenging and supporting all children in a safe and caring learning environment, enabling them to reach their highest potential and to become productive citizens. Through effective communication and positive relationships, the Longmeadow School Committee will make informed decisions in the best interest of students, the schools, and the Longmeadow community. And tonight, we will begin with a presentation from Williams Middle School. They will be the first to present to the school committee this year, as we ask every school to present some of their wonderful happenings.
You ready for us now?
We are ready for you. Did you want me to slow down?
Could you say that again? I just liked hearing it.
Oh, okay.
We're waiting for one other.
Oh, would you like me to do some correspondence?
Minutes of business first?
Sure.
Awesome.
We can do that for you. So correspondence.
There is one piece of correspondence, an emailed letter from Ronnie Kelly, received on October 9th, 2014, regarding school committee support of artificial turf on the fields.
Okay. And I guess we could also begin with any visitor comments. And if you don't mind to just state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is James Goodhines. I live at 78 Dover Road. I'm the parent of two children who are in 5th grade and a 8th grader. And I'm coming to the school committee meeting tonight to speak to you about my concerns and the concerns of other families similar to mine about the wind block that's being used in the elementary schools. We have concerns that there are a number of students who are being given basically what is amounting to a timeout during the school day, where 45 minutes of each day is taken out of the typical school plan from the last several years that we've had, so that teachers can focus on what seems to become identified as RTI, or some remediation to try to improve test scores for certain students in the class. I've been fortunate enough that my kids have scored within the top half of their class, and they are being given this period every single day in which no new learning is taking place, so that the teachers can focus on select smaller groups of students to reinforce objectives that have been taught to students during the day. We requested, myself along with other parents, the opportunity to speak to the superintendent about the implementation of this noble, but I think what is amounted to be a poorly executed plan at this stage, to identify what is being done with this period of time for the students who don't need that extra reinforcement. And after that meeting, we were left with the point that there would be a supplemental meeting at some point in December, that there would be a work group put together to have a discussion, but with no real plan as to what was going to take place over the next several months from the beginning of the school year until the time the group got to meet again. And my concern is there is a tremendous amount of time that typically had historically been used for science or social studies that is no longer there, and that the teachers who are teaching in this time frame are not able to use their school day as they've been trained to do. I've been fortunate enough to have my children being taught by some of the best teachers that we have in Longmeadow. And to see the frustration and the, I guess for a lack of a better word, children being left to their own devices during a period of time in which they should be being challenged like other students throughout the course of the day is disconcerting to me. And so I guess I'm coming back to the school committee again to seek answers from you and to ask you to send out a survey to the parents of the elementary school kids who are being placed in the situation in which the wind block is being used for their children, because the feedback that I've received from parents throughout all 3 of our elementary schools has been that this time is not productive for probably 2/3 of their class. That no one teacher can teach 4 different ways during that period of time to try and reinforce principles that have been covered, which seem to be part of the educational experience that all the children need, but not challenging those students who are not in that subgroup during what is called the win time. And so I ask that you think more constructively about this use of time so that we can come up with a plan that better utilizes all of the time for all of the kids in the classes, as opposed to simply focusing on certain students and not challenging others. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other visitor comments? You'll step up, state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Lee Vanko. I am a mother at Blueberry Hill School. I have children in the 1st grade, 3rd grade, and 1st grade. I do want to echo what Jim has already said about the WIN block, about it not serving the purpose that it was supposed to serve. I do want to ask a question. I've been told, or I've heard, that the WIN block was presented to the teachers as something that was definitely going to happen on August 30th. And I want to know if anyone here knows if that's the truth.
This is just a public commentary time.
Okay.
This is not a
Answering
response
question
or
time.
answer
Okay.
questions.
Well, that's my understanding. And so for something of this enormity to be presented to the teachers and to the schools only 3 days before the school year began seems to be bad planning. And from what we understand, as Jim said, it's supposed to meet the needs of all the kids, including it's supposed to provide extra enrichment. When we attended this meeting with Ms. Doyle and Ms. Pratt several weeks ago, it was clear to us that it had not been properly communicated to the teachers. They were saying that it was supposed to be an extra enrichment time, and this was the first that any of us really knew that that's what was supposed to be happening. And we were told that was what was delivered, that was understood. It seemed to be a lot of miscommunication around the WIN block. Now, in addition to that, I have to come to you and say that the teachers are not happy. Now, I can't speak for every teacher, but I have spoken with at least a handful of teachers at Blueberry Hill. And I can only speak for those teachers because I'm not in the other schools. But they feel like they're not being heard, with all due respect to the superintendent. They feel they're not being heard. They feel like they're not being respected. And sadly enough, they don't feel like they're being valued. And it is so upsetting to see these teachers who our kids love and who we put all our trust in, to see them come forward and say that they are so angry and so upset because they're not being valued, they're not being respected, they don't feel like they're being heard. It's just heartbreaking for us. So I think they've come to us because they feel like we can speak up for them, because they don't know who else to speak to. So that is why I know a number of us are here to speak on their behalf. So I really would ask, on top of what Jim is asking, that a real sit-down be held between the superintendent, between the teachers. I would preferably say not just with our teachers at Blueberry Hill, but at least those teachers, and that the truth has to be laid out and some kind of agreement has to be made as far as how we go forward, because right now they cannot work together, and that's just not acceptable. Our kids need better than that. So that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Jess Hutchins, 128 Hilltop Road. I'm just going to be really, really brief tonight, but I did just want to echo some of the comments that were shared by Jim and by Lee. And I do want to echo the sentiment that Lee communicated, which is that the teachers are most certainly feeling not heard, not respected, and not valued. And when excellent, tenured teachers who have been in Longmeadow for a long time and give their heart, soul, blood, sweat, and tears to our children are saying these things, we need to listen. And I'm asking you, the school committee, to start putting your ears out there and surveying the teachers and the parents and asking what is going on that this is happening in our town, because we have way too special a town for this to be going on. there are a lot of people talking about this. There are a lot of teachers talking about this. There are a lot of parents talking about this. There's a lot of frustration, and I think if we can all work together, we can really find a solution. But again, I would echo and repeat again that I ask the school committee to take responsibility by responding, taking action, asking the questions. I think one of the most effective tools in which to do this would be via survey of the teachers, the staff, and the students of Longmeadow. Thank you.
Margaret Rockus, 67 Shadyside Drive. I have a fifth grader, and I was very pleased last year with how the science and social studies swapped off. They did 6 weeks of science every day, and then there was a swap of 6 weeks of social studies, went back and forth that way. This year, it's 3 days of science, and then that's followed by 3 days of social studies, except there's now a technology period on Fridays, which means there's no science or social studies those days. And I have data. I took last year's cycle and I took this year's cycle, all right? I accounted for early dismissals. I accounted for half days. What I can tell you is that these kids are going to get 15 to 20 sessions less of science this year, the way this is going. That translates to a minimum of 600 minutes less science. That's 10 hours less science in their fifth grade curriculum. And I'm angry because this is unacceptable in this day and age when we need citizens who understand science, who aren't afraid of it, who don't turn the paper when they read about the latest outbreak of something or a new energy source. And if you do not capture students' interest in science, and I was told this by teachers in poor communities that I work with, if you do not capture their interest in science at the elementary level, it is gone. You will never get them interested. And instead of doing more hands-on experiments, we're doing less because there's just no time. We have a 45-minute win period every day. We have this technology period every Friday. And they seem to do either typing or making iMovies during this period. I am sure that you have all read the New York Times article where they talk to top executives at Google, at Facebook. These people send their children to expensive private schools where they essentially do not touch technology until 4th or 5th grade. Their parents, who are making millions, do not want them doing technology at school. Certainly not making iMovies. So I'm very upset about this lack of science, this decrease in the amount of science. I'm stunned. Nobody sat down and figured this out, and it would be even worse if you did and went ahead with it. I'm begging that you find a way to instill more science education in the 5th grade curriculum this year. This is too important to wait until January or next year's class. 10 hours is a lot of instructional time. Something needs to be done soon. Thank you.
Any other visitor comments?
Would you like to go to school committee comments or William's presentation?
Either's fine. Are there students here, Chris?
We're ready to roll.
It's fine.
Okay, how about we do your presentation and then we'll have school committee comments.
You guys can take the two.
Are you going to need,
I am. It should be ready to go. I should just be able to connect to it right now.
I'll just move out.
My part will be really brief though, so. So I guess to start, You mentioned that Williams is the first school that's going to have the opportunity to come before you and talk about some really great, exciting, positive things that are going on. So to start with, on behalf of these guys, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Because the challenging thing about tonight was to decide which thing to talk about. Because there's a lot of cool things going on. So what we decided to focus on tonight with these stellar young people is our new classroom libraries. Last spring, if you all remember, we came to all the school, well, the two middle schools came to and asked for some additional funds to purchase some classroom libraries to supplement our building libraries. You approved some funds back in the spring. We purchased the libraries late spring, organized them all over the summer, and we really kicked off with the opening of school and all the ELA classrooms, grades 6, 7, and 8. So that's what we're going to be taking the next few minutes just to share with you kind of what we've done and how that's going. This is what I just discussed. Not only did we buy new classroom libraries, but we also bought something called Reader's Notebook. We have first-hand accounts that you're going to hear tonight. You're not going to hear my second or third-hand reports of what I've observed in classrooms. But you're going to hear firsthand from a couple of our 8th grade students exactly how this has played out for them in their classrooms. What I decided to do was share just some pictures from various rooms around the building. Because every classroom teacher, as you've seen, if you've seen classrooms, is they all look different. They all really have the personality of that teacher. So I snapped some shots. Basically, what we purchased was a variety of genres of books and then a bunch of those blue bins. And teachers basically put their own labels on bins over the summer and broke down books by genre. And these are all choice reading books. So there might be 1 or 2 of all kinds of different books within a genre. And students get to choose from these books within the classroom. They don't need to go to the library. These have not replaced novels, so we're still teaching novels in our ELA classrooms. But in addition to that, we've included a lot more choice reading. Another classroom, you can see there's kind of descriptions of choosing books kind of around or beside or near the bins. This is a bigger classroom. This is a 7th grade classroom, 7-8 classroom. And you can see this teacher has decided along their whole back wall they've put all their bins. And they wrap around the corner too. You can't really see them because of the easels, but they wrap around the corner too. Kind of from a different angle. You can see how they've used 3 different shelves. Each one of those bins contains a variety of books of that particular genre. This is one classroom. I think this is your guys' classroom, right?
Yes.
So just some examples of ideas of how to choose books that are appropriate for you. Some of the strategies that you use to choose a good choice reading book. So it's not just about the topic or an area of interest, but exactly what kind of book is going to fit where your reading level is at. And again, I mentioned this during the MCAS night, but I really do invite anybody to shoot me an email and come in and visit sometime. Because to see this firsthand is really cool. And teachers would be so open to that. All I would need is just maybe a day's notice so I would know when you were coming in. And I'd be happy to take you down to see these classrooms. Because there's a lot, as these guys will attest, there's a lot of cool stuff that goes on every day. And I think seeing it firsthand would add another dimension to your work here. Again, same kind of idea, different classroom. Talks about just a lot of strategies around reading, around choosing books, and we're going to talk more about the Reader's Notebook in a few minutes and how those strategies are being kind of played out. Again, it's one thing talking about it. These guys are going to actually show you examples of their Reader's Notebooks and what they've done in the first about 7 weeks of school so far. So the kind of the slow part of the presentation is done. And now it's going to get exciting with Catherine and Jack. So first of all, you guys, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for coming out on a school night. And I'm gonna pass it off to you.
I would first like to thank the school committee for our beautiful new classroom libraries. These new classroom libraries have helped make reading a bigger priority. The libraries also allowed freedom for us students to choose our own books easily. Our library consists of many different blue bins with labels on them. Each label represents the genre of the books in each blue bin. For example, if you were looking for a realistic fiction book, like the one I have right here, you would find the blue bin with the label Realistic Fiction. You would then check out the book by writing out the date and the title of the book on your library card. Then, when you are finished with your book and need to return it, you would simply get a signature from the teacher on your library card. Then you would place the book back in the blue bin that you found it in. Since we are required to read 30 minutes a night, recording our pages on our bookmarks makes it easy for our teachers to track our progress. Each day you write the date on your bookmark as well as the page you started on and the page that you end on.
Well, as Catherine said, these sign-out sheets, we each get a note card. And when we start out, we write the date, we put our name, and we show it to our teacher, Miss Kimball, to see if she agrees with the book. If she agrees with the book, we're good to go, and we take out a bookmark and start writing out each day. Each day she wants us to read about 30 minutes a night, but you can go over it if you want to, especially what I've been doing if I want to finish a good book. And every night we have to record on how many pages we read and from which page to which page we've ended. Once you finish your book, you have to turn it in and write a new book on your bookmark, and then turn in the bookmark on this bookmark sheet to get it graded. And if you do not do it, it's a homework grade. If you don't, it's not too good.
One of my favorite things that we have also been doing in English with our choice book is called book talks. This is when each student gets up in front of the class and simply talks about their choice book, specifically their book's literary elements. I enjoy getting to talk about my books as well as getting to hear about other students' choice books. Hearing about other students' choice novels also makes it easy to shop for new books.
Also, with these books that the other kids are getting, we have a recommendation chart where kids, after they're finished with a book or if they've seen a book that they like, they put it on and kids will take them. I, myself, recommended a book called The Invention of Hugo Cabret, and I've so far had 2 people taking it out, so I think it's a good book. Okay, you can go. No, you can.
Okay. This year we were also given readers' notebooks, which I have my readers' notebook right here. These readers' notebooks make it very easy to learn new lessons. In our readers' notebooks, we get to take notes about all different sorts of English topics, such as literary elements. For example, if I forgot what the definition of the literary element theme was, I could flip to my theme page in my reader's notebook. Then from there, I could read the definition of theme, as well as read tips on how to easily find the theme of a book. In our readers' notebooks, we also get to write about different books we choose for ourselves this year. I love this because writing about books that I choose is usually more fun for me than writing about assigned books. I'm not always a fan of the books assigned to us, so when I write about books that are assigned to us, it feels dishonest and programmed. Well, when I write about my choice books, I'm able to get excited and passionate about them.
By choosing our books, it gives us more of an in-depth feel on reading. It makes us read what we want to read, not what some other person wants us to read. When we read our own books, we like to put more effort into the projects that we do the books on, such as the essays and the book reports and the book talks that we have to do. And it gives us a better grade. Also, with our books that we have to read, so far we're reading a book called... Oh wait, no, I don't have it with me. But it's I read this book called Forge, and in the book we got to write our note card and give a book report, and we had to tell a summary and give all the characters and give a person an in-depth feel on the book, so that maybe if they ever wanted to read it, they could read it also.
What we have also been doing with our readers' notebooks is that we've been able to write personal reflections on how we think we're doing with our book. We also get to write a letter to our teacher. So you basically say, "Dear teacher's name," and then just talk about what you have thought about choice reading so far, how you think you're doing, what we think we can improve on choice books and how we think it can run more smoothly and just stuff like that and our opinions overall, which I really enjoy.
Also, as a class, we are beginning to read a couple books all together. We read a book called the Real Story of Pocahontas.
Yeah, The Double Life.
The Double Life of Pocahontas. The Double Life of Pocahontas and Chains. Chains turns out to be the prequel of this book, Forge, which I've already read. But since reading it again, it's given me more of a feel on the book since I read it before, because we get to do more projects on it, and I get to learn more about the book.
Also reading books like The Double Life of Pocahontas and Chains, it also allows us to work social studies and English together. So I found it very helpful with all of the background knowledge I had from social studies, like going into Chains, I was able to have an easier time understanding different political events. In social studies, we learned a lot about the Revolutionary War, and Chains is actually set in the Revolutionary War, so now I have a lot of background knowledge on it, so it makes things a lot easier. Some of the characters they mentioned were historical figures we learned about in social studies, so I thought that was pretty cool that they corresponded together so well, and I think that it's great that we've been corresponding social studies and English together.
As Katie just said, how it corresponds with social studies, because English and social studies are very connected. In the starting of the year, we read a book called The Double Life of Pocahontas, and also in social studies, we learned about how they found the New World, and we learned about how Pocahontas' life. And by reading the book and learning about her, we got to compare and contrast the real history and how it was compared to the real history, and learned the facts and fiction of the book. It helped us give a more in-depth look at the book instead of just reading it without having any background information to cover.
Another thing that I like that we've been doing so far is teacher-student conferencing, which is when our teacher pulls us aside and we get to talk to her about our books and how we're doing with English. So I think it gives each teacher a really good understanding on how we're doing with the curriculum, which I really enjoy, so it can get us on the same page. And if a student is struggling with it, I think that it allows the teacher to be more aware so that the student's needs are met. I also like peer discussions, which is when the teacher gives us time throughout class to talk with our peers about different books. So when we were reading The Double Life of Pocahontas, our teacher would often stop the class and she would ask us to talk with our table about The Double Life of Pocahontas and different parts of the book. And I think it was really cool getting to hear other people's opinions and getting to share our opinions, which I really appreciated because I like to talk a lot. So, so I really like peer discussions. It also gets us to learn a lot from each other because I found that there was stuff that I was missing with the reading, and when I would hear a peer say something about it, I would be like, oh yeah, so that makes complete sense. And also we get to we're going to be doing a lot of writing projects with our books that Jack can tell you about.
Oh yeah, as writing projects, as I was saying, we have done big little book reports where we have to sort of give a presentation of the class about the books that we have read. So these book reports we had a time limit about a minute each. You have to give a minute of just full facts and just the setting and description of the book that you're reading. Also, we've done a couple essays on the books that we read, such as just giving a summary of the book and showing how it's important and showing its connections to history and stuff. And also, we have every day, the teacher makes sure that we have to read different types of books. So she gave us a list of different types of books in different genres. So far, I've read two historical fiction books, one dystopian future book, and I actually started a graphic novel because I thought I would be able to finish it because it was pictures, but it turned out to be 273 pages. Yeah, so.
In our readers' notebooks, it's really cool because we can easily keep track of like Jack said, like the different varieties of books we have. We actually have a page in the reading notebooks where we can just write down like tallies of different genres we've been reading. So our teacher likes to check in and make sure that we have been reading a large variety and that we're not reading just the same thing, just so we can diverse ourselves in our reading, which can be really important, and it can allow us to it can make reading different genres easier in the future. We also have a really cool page called our reading list, which is when we get to write down books we want to read, their genres, and when we complete them, we can check them off. And yeah, that's all I have to say on that.
I'll add one more thing. Well, since we've been reading so much this year, Katie is 2 books ahead of me. I've only read 6 books. She's read 8 books. And our goal this year is to read 40 books. So far we're doing pretty good, except for that sometimes you get locked into the giant book. And I was reading an independent book until the teacher gave us the book Chains, so I put that on hold, and now we're reading this book called Chains. And once we are finished with that, we're going to keep going on the books until we get our 40, and maybe more.
Yeah, Mrs. Kimball thought that it would be really good for students to create goals for them. So I had the goal of 40 books like Jack, and I think that having a goal actually really motivates me, because if sometimes I'm like, maybe I can read a little more so it can help me reach my goal. So instead of reading 30 minutes, I might read 40 minutes, because those 10 extra minutes can help me reach my goal. So I think the goals that we have set, each student really has their personal goals, and I think that our personal goals just help us read a lot more, and it gets students a lot more excited about reading.
I'm pretty sure that's what
I
it
think
is.
I think we've covered.
So I think I'll just take like a minute to wrap up. How do you not get excited about this after listening to these guys talk for 10 minutes? It's amazing, and this is the kind of enthusiasm that I could see in a whole classroom. If it's coming out at 7:30 at night, you can imagine what it looks like at 9:30 in the morning. But to kind of bring this full circle, all of these pieces fit together. Starting right with our PD, Sue, and the groups that we're bringing in to give our teachers really high-quality PD. And it's really around book talks and conferring, and that's what the teachers are working on in their groups. Then they get to take that back out to their classrooms, actually practice it with their kids, and it kind of completes that circle. So I just want you all to know that when you really support us like you did in the spring and allow us to buy something like really cool classroom libraries, only 2 months into the school year, this is what it looks like. And this is the enthusiasm that we're hearing kids talk about reading with. It's a big deal. It's really, I put it in one of the slides that I went through quickly, it really is kind of changing the literacy culture at Williams. There's kids talking about books in such an excited way, and recommending books to each other and talking about, I want you to hurry up and finish that so I can get it.
Yep, that's happening.
That's really happening. I see it happen all the time. So thank you guys for bringing such an exciting piece to school committee and letting them see kind of firsthand what you're experiencing during the day. And thank you all for supporting us.
Thank you.
I have a question. Where do you do most of the reading? At home?
Yes.
Do you do any in school, or is there free time for you to
Actually, during Explorer blocks, the teachers have a mandatory 20 minutes of reading instead of just doing homework, because Explorer is pretty much study hall where you just do either homework or you can just catch up or study. But now we have a mandatory 20 minutes so you can keep that reading going.
Sometimes in English class, our teacher also sets aside time for us to be able to read. If we finish early with a lesson or something and we don't really have much to do, then we are able to continue reading our books. And also in other classes, that's been happening a lot, where in social studies, if we finish our work early, we get to read our books, or if we finish our math test early, then we get to read our books. So there is time during school to answer your question.
And one other piece, we talked about conferring, where, if I'm the teacher, I might get my 3 or 4 minutes with Jack just to talk to him about his book. The rest of the class at that point is reading. They're either reading the classroom novel or they're reading their choice book. And, so there may be one day every other week that's a conferring day. And so there'll be some reading during class while the teacher's conferring with those students around the classroom. So that's another time where we do a little reading in school. But a lot is expected outside of school.
Okay, thank you.
Joseph?
You said you were both 8th graders?
Yes.
Well, if there's more students who are as excited as reading about you guys come to LHS, I'm very excited for what the future holds.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Have you been introduced to Myon yet, the electronic ebook program that we just purchased?
No, we haven't gotten
Not
into it.
yet, not
I
yet.
have not
It should be exciting. It does interest inventories. It can pair you up with fiction, nonfiction. It can introduce you to series that are similar to the ones that you really enjoyed. So I'll look forward to hearing your feedback on that.
All right. That sounds nice.
How many dystopian future books did we really buy?
Just enough.
Very popular.
It's very popular.
Oh, there's everything in these classes.
Oh, the Maze Runner.
So the selection is good?
Oh,
very good,
definitely.
yeah.
Last year, there wasn't as big of a selection, so I remember when we were doing a unit on a specific topic, and it was a lot harder to find a specific book. You had to get there quicker because it was all from the library. But now that we have classroom libraries, I mean, there's whole bins of them, so you don't have to worry about missing out on a good book.
You just reminded me of one last thing, I'm sorry, that we were able to really do an awesome job in grade 7 and 8. We missed a couple of genre areas in grade 6. We really didn't have, these were, if you remember, last year's funds, so we didn't have a real budget for this year. So in my September PAC meeting, I went to our Parent Advisory Council and asked them for some funds to support our 6th grade classroom libraries, which weren't quite at the same level. And they made a donation of $2,000 to the school for additional classroom library books. So we're in the process of buying those two at the 6th grade level. So we're
Excellent.
continuing to really grow these libraries.
Great.
And it sounds like you all have a little bit of friendly competition going.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I can say that I have twins who are in 8th grade over at Glenbrook, and there's friendly competition going on there as well.
Yep.
So it's good to see you guys reading and enjoying them. And then the activities that go with them, like you were saying, you both were saying how social studies is integrated within, and that is really exciting with the limited time that we have, the teachers have during the day to find ways to integrate multiple subjects together is awesome. And so it's neat to hear you guys recognize that and actually say that you find it helpful. So
Definitely. No, this was great to hear. I was actually on a related note in a 2nd grade classroom at Center School, and they have book libraries too. So you guys aren't as special as you think you are.
they are special.
So they have book libraries too, and I watched the exact same thing happen with them, except they get a lot of time or some time to read during the day. And the way that these kids went to their book libraries and pulled what they wanted to pull. It was like this. They didn't express the same excitement because I think they were too into their books. But the fact that this is taking place throughout our school system is incredible, and the fact that you came here tonight to tell us about how much you like it makes us think that we made the right choice listening to Mr. Collins.
Definitely, yes.
For sure.
So thanks again for the time tonight.
Thank you for coming out and for sharing with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. So now we'll move into school committee comments.
I would like to respond to the parents before they leave, if that is okay with you.
That's fine.
The parents from Blueberry's 5th grade asked to meet with me. We met about 2 weeks ago, and we discussed concerns that teachers raised. Their concerns were about the new schedule, the wind block, the 45 minutes. I think there was the schedules developed by the principals last year with Kelly Ganji. They spent the year working on it. So I was surprised to hear that teachers didn't know about it till August 30th because it was something that was underway all of last year. In that meeting, we also talked about the teachers' perceptions of what flexibility they had with the schedule. I think the fifth grade teachers were under the impression that they could not change their schedule, which is not true at all. I not only met with the parents, I followed up with the administrative team and with the teachers in the fifth grade and talked about their concerns. We agreed the science labs are extremely important. STEM is a priority in this district, that we could not ignore them, and that social studies should not be dropped. We talked about ways that they could be flexible in their scheduling, that they were not locked into any schedule any given day, that was a guideline to go by, because people were saying, how can you fit this all in? When I went back to the administrative team, particularly the elementary principals, the other principals felt it was not an issue in their schools at Center or at Wolf Swamp. We did agree that we would convene a committee with representation from a teacher from every grade, from every school. That's going to meet next week, Sue? Okay, that they're meeting soon, and the principals asked that we give them the 2 months to try this, to experiment, to gather information to bring back. So at this point, we will be having a meeting with all that representation, a full-day meeting to talk about what's working, what's not working. One other thing that I did discuss with the Blueberry fifth grade teachers was that they needed to reschedule their kids. The challenge kids needed to be in one room. The kids that needed some kind of support should be in another room. Our students that needed remediation needed to be in another room. And I discussed that with Marie Pratt. So I hope that has happened, because that was discussed with both the teachers and the principal at the school. I think that the change has been the change started last year. I think it's something that we do need to talk about. I think that I sense a sense of fragmentation when I look at the schedule. I think it's too fragmented. There are too many pieces to the day for children as well as teachers. We talked about that. It was my suggestion a few years ago that the teachers actually have a science teacher, a math teacher, a literacy teacher, to try and team, because I think that the teachers find it less stressful to team teach, and it also gives them expertise in a subject area. In particular, math is difficult for some people to teach, and if you can focus on that rather than doing 10 preps during a day, I think that's advantageous. So I think that with representation and feedback from all the schools, we will follow up. I have already set up a meeting with the fifth grade Blueberry parents, all of who spoke tonight. They were all fifth grade Blueberry parents.
I'm not a fifth grade parent.
Okay, so you're the only... Okay, so you're the only one that wasn't a fifth grade parent, but of the parents I met with that had concerns, they were all fifth grade parents from Blueberry.
I met with you, and I'm not a fifth grade parent.
Thank you, Jess. And we have another meeting scheduled the first week in December. I did ask the parents to be patient, because teachers and principals and administrators ask for time. We have to communicate with the administrative team. We have to communicate with teachers throughout the district. They need time to do that. There will be a meeting held, and there will be feedback, and I'll have a report for you, as well as a follow-up meeting with the Blueberry parents in December.
Okay. Any other school committee comments?
I just want to, I guess, say a quick thing. I know that we have some really great teachers in the district, and so I just want to make sure that I acknowledge that I know that we have some really great teachers, and I'm sad to hear that they're feeling, I mean, we're not hearing it directly from them, and I don't know how to figure out how to hear it, but if they are feeling unheard and undervalued and unrespected, that might be something that we can discuss at a later time how to address, because I don't want to just let that part of what was said here go away.
I meet with the union every week. We have an excellent relationship. We bring issues to the table. I think that they have a vehicle for communication. I do think there is a sense of a lot of change. Last year, the readers workshop came in and the writers workshop, and I think the change is happening at the elementary level. I think if you also look at MCAS scores and data, the elementary school area has been where our concern has been. I think the question is how to slow it down, but it's this fragmentation. I think when the principals in Kelly developed the schedule, they were looking at the components that needed to be done to help raise achievement. But I think we have to step back and look at how integrated learning is best, that it should be project-based learning. It should be integration of skills into that, and it should be based around the project where you step back and build the skills in rather than teach the skills and add the project on later. So we have a lot of discussion to have on that. Those will be the discussions that we will be having when we bring together representatives from all the schools.
Michelle?
So there's the meeting that you were talking about with teachers from every grade and every school. That's happening next week or sometime around?
Sue was asked to set that up, Sue?
The principals were going to speak to their teams during teen time and get back to us with the date. So we're going to do it sometime between here and the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Can you just put, what you just said, would you be able to draft minutes or a letter or something like that we can send out to the parents who are looking for some updates or something? I tried to take notes, but it was...
Oh, no, I'd be happy to do that.
So, all right,
yeah.
Thank you.
It's definitely on our radar screen because I think with the elementary, you look at the math scores, you look at special education, you look at literacy, and there has been a concern there, and as we're making these changes, I think some of the teachers are feeling that, especially if you've been teaching for 30, 35 years. I had a good discussion with the 5th grade teachers because particularly 2 of them have been teaching for a long, long time. So when you have a teacher who's been teaching for 40 years and they're looking at a student who has a reading problem, they can tell you pretty quickly because through experience they know that. When you have a newer teacher who's new to the profession, I think that you have tests like Ames, Web, or BASS that give you the data that you need until you build that mastery. So we have a lot of conversations going on. We have a lot in terms of last year, Ames Web was introduced in BASS in terms of assessments. So there's a lot of conversation. How much testing is needed? What kind of information are they getting? Is the Readers and Writers Workshop in isolation working, or should that be embedded into the social studies and science? Also, the priority is it's not enough time for social studies and science, the schedules that were developed last year. So I think that the parents have raised good issues, but the teachers, I have heard loudly and clearly. I've met with them. I have followed up. I have met with the administrative team who said that we really need to give this a little time. We will meet and we will have feedback for you.
Any other school committee comments? Okay. And I'd just like to finish off that discussion with the fact that, right now in education, we are in a tremendous time of change, of flux. Education is always a changing environment. Things are never going to stay the same. Pendulums swing from one end to another. And yes, we have implemented a lot of things in the last couple years and have asked the teachers to do an awful lot of changing. However, we also need to respect the protocols that are in place of voicing concerns and bringing things to the forefront, which is first and foremost speaking with your child's classroom teacher. If that doesn't get results, then going to your building principal. If that doesn't satisfy it, coming to requesting a meeting with the superintendent, and then only then, if those results, are unsatisfactory, would it come to school committee. School committee's job is not to manage the day-to-day operations. That is why we have a superintendent and assistant superintendents that we pay to do that. Our job is primarily to focus on policy and on budgetary concerns. Not that we're discounting what the parents are saying. We are listening. But I think the fact that Marie has met with you all, has scheduled follow-up meetings with you all, that has shown that we are not ignoring it. So I would just like that noted.
Can we say anything to that?
Visitor comment is over. This isn't a discussion. Visitor comment and school committee comments are not a discussion period. It is a commentary period. Okay. We have no old business that we are addressing. We'll move on to your report, Marie.
The Leaf Gala is this week. It's Saturday at Twin Hills. 6 o'clock. Please do be supportive. I know the tickets are still on sale. You can go to the Leaf website, leaf.org, and get your tickets there. The Elementary Math Committee is meeting tomorrow. I know that there have been questions about Engage New York Math. The Elementary Math Committee is represented by teachers throughout the elementary schools. They meet with Sue Bertrand. They began last summer with an elementary committee that looked at the standards, particularly alignment to the Common Core, to see where we were at and where the Common Core was at. They were pretty close, but they made some they made some timelines and outlined what the standard should be. Now the committee is going to gather together. They're going to choose other programs to pilot. They're going to develop a feedback form for teachers. They're going to create a teacher survey and come forward with a recommendation by May. Once we know the program that we've used, staff development will be planned and materials will be ordered. We look forward to hearing the recommendation from the committee. We also had a school safety meeting where we met with the chief of police, the chief of fire, and Captain Stankiewicz to talk about school safety. They're going to come to an administrative team meeting in a few weeks to talk about procedures. It's important to make sure our lockdown procedures, our fire drills, and our evacuation protocols are all in place. So we'll be working with the chiefs on that. We are very proud to announce we have 2 student representatives to the Anti-Defamation League Conference in Washington, D.C. Ellie Barquette and Zach Posnick were chosen to represent New England at the ADL's national conference. The ADL selects 10 student nominees from throughout 100 from the U.S. and only 10 from New England, and 2 of Longmeadow students were actually selected, which is fantastic. Ellie and Zach will be participating in a 4-day conference in D.C. They will then design a program that will try and activate our community and move us forward in our goals to be not to discriminate and to be accepting of everyone. So we look forward to hearing their feedback from the conference. I'd like to have them come and present to you. It's also the final year of a 3-year contract between the LEA and Longmeadow, so negotiations will begin this week, and that will probably take us several months behind closed doors, and then hopefully we'll have another 3-year contract. And our fall newsletter will be going out next week.
Okay. Any questions for Marie? All right. I do not have anything to update us with at the moment for school committee, so I will move on to Joseph.
Thank you. So the first thing I'd like to tell everyone is that the class of 2015 will be presenting High School Musical. Ticket sales for that will begin in about a week or so. It will be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, November 20th through the 22nd. Very excited. I hope everyone, a lot of members of the community can come.
Are you in it?
So I am an extra. So you get to see me sing a bunch of different songs, but you're also gonna buy your ticket from me, so that'll be you'll see me at the door. I wanted to congratulate LHS's varsity football team on a shutout last Friday. Awesome job. I wanted to update you on some things from last meeting's SCAC meeting. We're going to be conducting a survey on after-school meals very soon. We'll get the results from that back to you. We will be contacting the middle schools this week about sending student reps from our committee to their school council meetings. And I'm going to be working with tech department very soon to set up a website explaining the roles of student government at Longmeadow Public Schools, which is something we had talked about at our meeting. I'm so pleased to show everyone the first parking pass ever purchased for $30 at Longmeadow Public Schools. The students would like to express their greatest gratitude for the change made at last meeting, and I can report that we've already had a bunch of sales for the new price, so thank you very much.
I assume they'll be erecting statues of all of us.
Well, me and Nick Cruz.
Okay.
Yes, so thank you very much. And of course, any questions? Cheryl?
You can report too that the refund checks have been approved.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
People should expect.
Yeah, we're voting on those.
And parents might want to watch the mailbox because the check is for $145. Be sure it goes to the right parent.
The check, just as a question, the check's going to be addressed to the student or the parent?
Parents. Make it to the parent.
Yes, Mr. Dunkley gave us that update Friday morning, and that was sent out to the students then, so everybody is going to be watching their mailbox this week.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Any other questions for Joseph?
Well, I just think we should congratulate Joseph because I've been on this committee for 4 years and John's been on it for 7 years. And every year the student representative has come to talk to us about parking fees. And Joseph is the first one who's actually been able to get us to lower them. And maybe it's because he's done it 2 years in a row. But I think that he deserves congratulations for successfully swaying school committee.
Thank you very much. And of course, I have to acknowledge Nick Cruz, member of my senior class, who assisted in the process with his 250-person petition.
Well, of course, another big factor was that very large parking lot that was included with the construction of the new high school.
Of course.
And that was the original reason for instituting that fee. We did not have adequate parking.
All right, moving along. Financial report. I know we have some visitors who are going to be presenting to us this evening. So let's begin with Stacy, our enrichment coordinator.
Good evening, everyone.
Are you projecting, Stacy?
I am not.
Okay.
I'm a little bit old school, just paper.
That's quite all right.
So normally I just have one program to report on to you all, but I'm very happy to say that for the first time this year, I have 3 programs to talk to you about. It was a year of tremendous growth for the enrichment program. We added after-school enrichment programming at all 3 schools. At all of our schools during all 3 seasons. So we had a fall, winter, and spring after-school program. We were able to run 8 classes in the fall and had 71 students participate, 11 classes in the winter with 98 students participating, and 5 classes in the spring with 33 students participating last year. We offered a variety of classes. We had Lego robotics classes, Makey programming classes, Scratch programming classes, an MCAS math prep class, a few different cooking classes. We had a class entitled Look Mom, I Did It Myself, which taught kids skills such as doing laundry and those types of things. So we had a number of different types of programs that students took advantage of last year. In addition to also, we are running 7 classes this fall that just started. This just started this past week with 68 students enrolled. Some of the same classes that we offered previously, and we also have 2 district moms who are offering yoga classes at all 3 schools, at all 3 elementary schools, which has been a tremendously popular program. We're very excited that students are taking advantage of these programs because of the stress relief that's involved. I was able to stop by one of the yoga classes, and just the combination of stress relief and fun that was occurring in the class that I was able to observe was just phenomenal. So we're really excited about the new opportunities that we've been able to offer. In addition to offering after-school enrichment programs for children, we also started an adult lifelong learning program last spring. So we were able to run 9 classes last spring with 59 students, and we were able to offer Spanish, French, a Longmeadow history class, a knitting class, an iPad technology class, and the response to both of these programs, the after-school enrichment program as well as the lifelong learning program, has been overwhelmingly positive. The participants have been incredibly excited about the opportunities and are very much interested in continuing participating in these programs. Our new lifelong learning program, our fall lifelong learning program, is actually starting next week. So I encourage everyone to tell your friends. We do have a number of the opportunities, the previous opportunities that we've offered. We're offering Greek and Roman culture, Spanish. We also have a yoga class for adults that's running after school on Tuesday afternoons. So the lifelong learning classes, we have a variety of times. They run from 3 o'clock to 4:30 in the after school time slot. And then we also run lifelong learning classes from 7 o'clock to 8:30 in the evenings, because we're trying to kind of hit different target time periods that will hopefully work for the vast majority of people. In terms of our summer program, the program that I always get to come and speak to you all about, we have continued a lot of our offerings that have been really popular in previous years. For the elementary students, Ms. Frizzle's Lab is always our really popular science class. At the middle school level, we also offered a STEM class, which continues to be very popular. Our middle school band program and our middle school theater program have really continued to take off and gain momentum. We did have a changeover in the band staff because Dan Albert is no longer with the district. So our 2 new music teachers at the high school and middle school level, Travis and Michael, have really taken on the program, have
kind of taken it to almost a new level. We're very enthusiastic. Melissa Drysdale as well took over the chorus portion of the program, so we also have a vocal portion of the program. And the students who participate in that program offer a concert at the end of the week, which is just incredibly phenomenal considering that they've been only working together for 1 week. Every single time I go, I continue to be impressed with what the teachers and students are able to accomplish in that time. We also had a great production of Willy Wonka this summer. Again, very, very popular, a number of students participating. In terms of the feedback and the survey results, I had a parent in the comments tell me that both of her children absolutely must be a part of the theater program next year because they came to Willy Wonka and they were just so incredibly impressed with it. So that program continues to run very strong as well. In terms of budget, our summer program pretty much broke even this year. We had 829 registrations. Last year we had about 850, so our registrations were pretty much the same. However, we ran 90 classes this year, and last year we only ran 76. What we've been trying to find is a balance between how big our classes get, how many classes we end up canceling. What can be difficult for our program is when we cancel a class, parents are then scrambling to find another class that their son or daughter will tolerate. They're maybe not getting their first choice. And so we've been running more classes with lower enrollment, both to keep everybody happy and also to keep the class sizes a little bit small, because what had happened was some of the classes were getting larger and larger and larger, and we were starting to be a little bit fearful that the quality might not necessarily be there, the student-teacher ratio. And so we did run a number of additional classes this past summer, and therefore our teaching costs were higher than they normally do because we were paying more than they normally are because we were paying more teachers. Our after-school enrichment program ran in at a loss of about $2,900 due to the fact that we bought a lot of equipment for that program. So we bought we were starting from scratch, so we had to buy Lego kits and makey kits, and those were a little bit expensive. But the payoff from the student perspective has been tremendous. There's been a great outpouring of enrollment in those courses, and they continue to run strong. Our lifelong learning, our adult enrichment class, there isn't really much overhead for that program. It's pretty much paying teachers and a little bit of administrative staff. We did lose about $1,550 in that program as well, mainly because we're really trying to keep the cost down. We don't want that program to become cost prohibitive for the participants who are enrolling. A couple of other things, I'm sorry, I know I'm taking a little bit more time than I normally do. Some goals for next year. Now that we have all of these programs up and running, some of our goals include making sure that we have a good variety of classes. One of our struggles is to make sure that we have classes available at every school in our district. And that can be a little bit tricky because that means we need to have teachers at every school in the district who are enthusiastic and willing to work even longer hours than they already do. So that's one of the things that we're looking at. We're looking at a balance between the programming that we offer and the outside vendor programming that we bring in, because not all of the after-school programming is sponsored by the enrichment program. We also have a number of outside vendors who come in and offer classes as well. So one of the things we've started looking at this fall is trying to make sure that we aren't overlapping too much and oversaturating the market and offering too much, because when we offer too much, then you have 2 or 3 kids enrolled in every class and you end up not running anything. So that's one of the things that we've been looking at as well. Another thing that we've been kind of playing around with a little bit is the timing of our classes. So in terms of, okay, when exactly in the fall do we offer classes? Last year we offered our classes started a little bit later for after school enrichment, and we kind of took a week off in the middle for Thanksgiving, and so they ran through the middle of December. And this year we started a little bit sooner because we thought, well, let's see what happens if we get our classes done and over with before the holidays, see what enrollment looks like. And some of the feedback I've been getting from parents is, well, soccer's still going on, so we can't register right now. But then our numbers look like they're pretty much the same. So it's always a gamble. You're never really sure exactly what's going to work in the best way. The other goal that I have for the program is how to get the word out about our offerings in the best way. I feel that we do a pretty good job in our after-school enrichment offerings because we have the email access to all parents, and then we also have flyers that we send home with all of the students. But I'm still struggling with the adult enrichment piece and how to really get the word out there to the community at large that we're offering all of these phenomenal adult enrichment classes that that people can take advantage of, because we find that we don't have that email connection. I don't have the email address of every single adult in Longmeadow, unfortunately, the way that we do for the parents of all of our students. And we also run into a situation where not necessarily all of the adults in our community are utilizing email and utilizing technology. So how do we find a cost-effective way to reach that population? That's another goal that I'll definitely be working on this year. Finally, I just wanted to take a quick second to thank everyone who's been so supportive of this program. It would be impossible to do it without your support. Every single person in this room in some way, shape, or form has supported me in some way and has supported the program in some way and has given me feedback and has given me support, from Marie to Tom to all of you. I'm really appreciative, and I continue to welcome the feedback and the support and any advice that you might have, because I want to make sure that all of these programs stay as strong as they've been. Questions? Yes.
Do we reach out to the senior center?
Yes, we do. We do have flyers with the senior center as well, and they've been generous enough, at least in the past, to help us with accepting registrations. So that is definitely one connection that we have. Also, we do have a connection at Glen Meadow as well, so we have some flyers over there, and if you have any ideas, I'm more than willing to entertain anything.
Well, Jim Moran's been very helpful too.
He has been. He's been phenomenal.
Yeah, he's been communicating. He actually brings back information and he puts it on his website. So
he's way more tech savvy than I am.
He posts it on Facebook.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
He's been trying to get me into Facebook, and it just hasn't worked yet.
I think the range of courses has been great. I know that one of our goals was to make sure that we had STEM offering for kids, and I see Scratch and other courses there. I think that people really appreciate, so those that have great interest can participate. I know that the feedback from the adult community has been very, very positive as well, that they have an opportunity to come and continue their learning as well. So I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, every year, you've come and you've presented to us, and although you didn't make a lot of money this year,
I knew you were going to mention that.
I was going to mention that because I mentioned it last week. Every year, it seems like the program continues to get better and better, and the fine tuning happens every year, and you continually narrow in on what's working and dump what's not, and I think that you do an incredible job of managing what is becoming increasingly a larger and larger chunk of time and task now that we've added lifelong learning and after-school enrichment on top of all the summer enrichment. So, I think you're doing a great job, and I think that every year you've come back and shown us that these programs are working and that people really like them, and the surveys are just incredible. Nobody said they didn't like it, which is great. So congratulations on another good summer, and and hopefully we have a great year.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank you very much, not only for what you do, but for sharing this all with everyone.
Thank you.
All right, and then we have an advanced energy report, gentlemen.
Well, okay, I'll introduce it by saying we discussed this at our finance subcommittee meeting, and it seems to have some appeal, so we want to bring it before the committee, and that's what we're going to do tonight. Tom, you want to add anything?
Yeah, a little introduction. District about 5 years ago entered into an agreement with Advanced Energy Group through Western Mass Electric to do some light retrofitting, some light fixtures retrofitting in a number of our buildings. And the projects are financed over a number of years. I believe back then the maximum term was 24 months, and you paid directly on your electric bill, with a portion of that project cost being paid by the utility company through a conservation fund that every utility customer pays into monthly. Late spring, early summer, Kim kind of prompted me to say, is there anything out there that we can do to have an audit done of our buildings for energy efficiency opportunities? And so I contacted Western Mass, and they put us in touch with Advanced Energy Group, who had come out and did a walkthrough both on fixtures and our HVAC systems. Tonight they are here to talk about the electrical or the lighting fixture proposals that they brought forward to. Kim sat in on it, and Finance Subcommittee also had heard the proposals, and we will be coming back again potentially at some point discussing HVAC proposals once we receive those projects. So Adam from Advanced Energy Group and Pete Chapman from AEG are also here to kind of walk you through the proposals and the costs and how the program will work. So I'll turn over to them.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Adam Connors. I'm a representative from Advanced Energy Group. We're an energy service company out of East Long Meadow, Mass. We do proposals like this for municipal and non-municipal companies throughout Western Mass and Connecticut. Basically, we put together a proposal for the town for each of the schools, showing what can be done right now that's incentivizable, meaning we can get an incentive towards this project and obtain the financing that Tom spoke about. We were able to assess the buildings at no cost, put together these proposals in great detail, showing what can be done with today's technology, what's smart to do with today's technology today. Not just something that's out there. There's a lot of things that are out there that aren't right for the schools, and we've gone through and sifted those things out and looked at what makes sense today, what's cost effective for the town. And we were able to put together these proposals in a way where they don't cost anything that you're not spending right now as a school system. So what that is similar to what Tom had spoke about last round, I should say. It was a couple years back now, when we did this type of project in each of the schools. We've taken a new program called the Municipal Program, also offered by Western Mass Electric, also run by Kim Kiernan from Western Mass Electric. You'll see the first page of your proposal has her contact information, so you can speak with her and verify anything you need to verify that in regards to the proposals that are bound into this copy. Basically, Advanced Energy Group has gone out to bid with Western Mass Electric, and we've put out our best price, and so has a lot of other contractors. And they've thrown out the high, thrown out the low, and gone with the today's product that's available for not just schools, but all sorts of different municipal buildings. Each page is labeled for what school it's for. It shows the exact payback for that school. Since Blueberry Hill School is on top, we'll just do a quick briefing on that school. Basically, you've got a project investment of $78,000. Sounds a little high when you think about what has to be done at the school. You're taking the existing equipment, you're removing it, and you're installing energy efficient equipment in its place. But when the utility company steps in and picks up, in this case, the utility incentive is almost $41,000. It's much less net cost for the school system to take advantage of a program like this. Now, to ask the school system to come up with $37,200, the remaining balance would be, let's just say, not possible. Especially for...
We wouldn't want to ask you that, actually.
We wouldn't want to ask you.
We wouldn't want to ask you to do that.
So we've gone back to the utility company and said, being that it's the end of the year, this municipal program has money that it needs to spend. These schools are in need of these upgrades, but the money's not there to take care of each of these schools individually. We need some sort of a payback period like we had a couple years back under what we called the small business program. This municipal program came back with much greater results than we thought it was going to. The cost of, or per kWh that the school system is paying now being so high and on the rise, we can jump out in front of that and put together a utilities incentive that will bring down the overall cost and allow for repayment of the remaining balance fairly quickly and without any out-of-pocket cost. So the most important part about that would be out-of-pocket cost. We don't want you to have to think about where are we going to get this money, where's it going to come from. 44 months of on-bill return payment in the school system it's unheard of. It's a very special offer that the utility company is putting forth, not to mention the unusually high incentive, in this case over 50% for this one school, as a rare opportunity for the school system to take advantage of an upgrade like this. So that being the money end of things, I wanted to get that out of the way first. I think that's the most interesting part. How are we going to pay for this? Where is it going to, why is this good for us? The utility company has calculated a savings per month for this specific school, Blueberry School, of $891.10 and a payback period of 44 months. So after this 44-month period, this particular school is going to have a savings in their pocket of $841 a month. So not only do you get the upgrade in that school, and not have to come up with the funds to take care of it, but you also don't have to take the time to find the materials that you need and put them out to bid, because that's been taken care of, and you'll reap the benefit after 44 months of $891.10 per month. This particular school, I'm only going to go through this one because they're all very similar, and I don't want to waste too much of your time. This particular school has 194 light fixtures throughout the school that carry 2 lamps. Each one of those fixtures is maintained by the school system. Each ballast inside of these fixtures is at I wouldn't say the end of its life, but is approaching the end of its life. It's a good time to replace this unit, being that we can get it paid for without any funds being allocated from the school system. And the cost to replace this unit being, as in this case, as low as $50 per unit, very unusual. So we have a good opportunity to take advantage of some good energy savings, a lot of maintenance in the school system, and not have to worry about where the funds are going to come from. Each item on these proposals is labeled for what it is, what area of the school it's in, and in this case we have not only the interior lighting but also the exterior lighting and the gymnasium. So being that we've gone through the school and we found what we need to implement in these schools, put it together in a package and found a way to put this or implement this upgrade, we're hoping that the school system will take advantage of the program.
Well, I just want to point out that about a third of the way through the packet, there's a summary sheet that kind of shows you all of the 5 projects that they're proposing. It's right after Williams Middle School's breakdown. It actually looks like this. It just has the 5 schools listed. And so it kind of gives you a summary snapshot of the total cost of each project, each location, how much the incentive is that the utility company will be putting towards the project, what the net cost to the school department will be, and then the financing, the monthly loan payments, and then the estimated savings. There are a couple pieces, and I'd ask Adam to address. The Williams Middle School is a cash flow negative project, and I know there are some issues associated with the fixtures and so on that I think contributed to that, if my recollection serves me correct. But of the 5 projects, that is one that will have an outlay of about $50 a month, $45, assuming we move forward with the project. So
part of that also was each school had a different KWH charge per KWH. Some schools had a 13 cents per KWH charge, and some other ones had a 17 cents KWH charge. That's dependent upon the projects, and a lot of it also was dependent upon the fixtures, the number of fixtures, and the run times that create that cost effectiveness, whether it be cash flow positive or negative.
Okay. One thing to keep in mind, it's very important, is each of the schools have their cash flow neutral, positive, or negative reported. And if you do a balance of all of the schools, it also washes out what we need to take care of over at Williams, which is another way to think about the project as a whole.
some of the other things we discussed, they are planning to have the projects completed by December 31st or thereabouts. They will be here working second shift, so they won't be disrupting any of the instructional time or work during the day. We did have a brief discussion about the gyms, so we don't want to interrupt the gym use as youth basketball will be starting up right around early to mid-November. So we would work with them in scheduling the downtime for the gyms to make sure that those areas can get taken care of. They brought samples of some of the lights. We had concerns about the fixtures outside, complaints from neighbors, especially at Blueberry and Wolf Swamp, and the way the lights projected into not only their yards, their houses, when we did the projects 4 or 5 years ago. So they brought in some samples of the fixtures on the outside that will direct the light down. Adam, I don't know the technical piece of it as much as you explained, so if you want to add to that.
The fixtures are considered to be dark sky approved. And what that is they've gone through DLC testing. Design Lights Consortium is a website that we refer to find out if a fixture qualifies for an incentive. It's been put to the test. Can it survive? In this case, will it be light pollution in this area after this fixture's installed? And I think we learned our lesson a few years back when we did induction replacements on existing lighting. All of the lighting in the town was set to be projected as far out as it possibly could. With new technology coming out, we put in induction lighting. It was very bright, and everybody thought, this is great. We're going to have these nice bright lights, and we're going to blow away the area and make it very safe. And what ended up happening was we made it so bright that it actually bothered people. So we came in and we converted that to dark sky lighting by adding shields. And it did the job, but it wasn't as pretty as it was when we first finished the job. And now that they've paid for themselves and had some time to push money back on the town in their savings, it's a good time to take advantage of the newer technology, LED in this case, which will replace the existing lighting and be designed from the factory to have this dark sky approval, give us illumination around the school but not onto the neighbor's property.
Could I ask, where does the need or requirement for exterior illumination come from? Is that the police, or is that what architects recommend, or and do we really have to have it?
As far as a foot candle, we'll call it, that's a good measurement of light that's used commonly. As far as a foot candle quality or amount that a town requires, there's no specifics. Every town is different. In this town specifically, there's certain neighborhoods and certain properties that these schools are on where less light is better, which you wouldn't expect. And then some of the other properties, like Glenbrook, for instance, where the property around the school is much larger and there's a lot less residents right by the school, the brighter the better. Oddly enough, we have Blueberry and Wolf Swamp schools, which have an enormous number of lights surrounding the schools. Very good lighting, probably well thought out at the time, but the residents are very close to those schools. And Glenbrook, being an older school, has not as many residents, larger fields, larger parking areas surrounding the school, and there's just a lack of lighting overall on that school, and there always has been. It's just something that was done during construction of the school and hasn't really changed, because it's not likely that you're going to come in and mount additional lighting around the building if no one's complaining. So what we've done is we've kind of thought that through. With suggestion at Tom, we took a look at the schools and said we need a light fixture that can project and also confine light in the areas we want to. Same driver, we'll call it a driver. It's a ballast inside of this fixture, very similar to the ballast that your maintenance people change out inside the schools now. Same driver, so that we don't have to stock a lot of different materials. Same manufacturer, so that you can get replacement parts if needed, if there's vandalism or something of that nature. But to be able to project the light out for a flood or have it down for a wall pack is something that we can take care of while we're doing this conversion. And that's why you see two different styles of lights here. Basically, in the case where we want to flood out to, let's just say, Wolf Swamp's gymnasium type, well, not gymnasium, playscape outside. It's a little bit further from the building than some of the other schools, and it's got a lot of residents towards the back, towards the right-hand side of the building, but not as much towards the left-hand side where that playscape is. So to have a floodlight for the playscape installed strategically in an area that it's going to direct light at the playscape but not disturb the neighbors is something we can take care of during the process of installation. If I said that correctly. Try to, but there's a lot of wall packs on that building now, and for us to come in and change them all to wall packs again would most likely leave us with the right amount of light around the school. But with the change to the parking lot, the changes to the fields, the changes to the residents over the years, and that playscape, it's important that we include some flood lighting throughout. So we've built the proposals to show 40 watts of input wattage or power used, and given two separate fixture types that both draw that same amount of wattage, and they can be installed strategically.
And they
as
carry
we
the
go
same
along.
cost.
Concern that has been voiced to me was that, why do we have so much lighting there? It just seems really bright, and it's on all night. But that's security.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a fact, though?
The police department is pushing to keep the lighting for good reason. There has been vandalism. There's been many. I don't live in the town, but just working in the town over the years, there's been many different discussions about children making it up to the rooftops of these units and breaking the fixtures off the buildings from the upper half, especially on Glenbrook. So having a fixture that we can mount securely to the building that can't be removed easily or be broken easily, but also still having lighting completely around the building, not having darker areas by eliminating lights, I think is the way to go, in my opinion. But with the dark sky ratings that these fixtures have, and being that they are only 40 watts of input wattage or power used per light fixture, we're going to be able to keep the number of lights, not have patches around the building, and hopefully not overlight the facility.
The light is directed more in a concentrated area down and out rather than broadcasted in a large area forward and up. So that's part of what the DLC does, is it makes the manufacturers meet those guidelines so that the light covers the area only that you need to light, rather than putting a large amount of area light out there that isn't needed. I guess in our words, it's more efficient lighting rather than inefficient lighting.
Okay. And will it use less electricity?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, for example, these two fixtures right here carry 41 watts of power. The existing fixtures that are on the wall, I believe, are carrying 110. So this fixture here is 41 watts, and when it's on the wall, it's flush mount to the wall. The light is directed basically across and down from the bottom of the fixture. And that's part of the requirement of meeting the DLC regulations in order to have that fixture even out there and be incentivized by the utilities and the power companies that are running these programs.
Basically, the KWH that we're going to produce by upgrading the schools is valuable in today's market. To have KWH that we can bring to the utility company and show that we're doing the right thing has a value to it, and that value basically is passed on to the schools in the form of an incentive.
Right. And the biggest thing is that you have a load that you use right now, which could be XYZ KWH, and what we're trying to do is reduce that load for you by doing a direct one-to-one replacement. And if you're running, let's say, at 100,000 KWH at one school, we want to bring that 100,000 KWH down to 60 KWH, 60,000 KWH if we can, which equals savings dollars, which gets incentivized by the utility to do something like that, to put those fixtures up.
As far as the benefit of the town goes, the reduced electricity is great, but maintenance factor is a big deal. I know that over the years, being an electric company just over the line here in East Long Meadow, we've received a number of calls saying, we have some outages, can you come over and take a look? Being that these are fixtures that we've installed, we were able to come over under warranty and get that work done, but that warranty will eventually run up. And when we have the opportunity to take advantage of leftover funds at the end of a year, I think it's important that we at least give it a shot and see if the paybacks are something that the town can entertain.
Of course, you're not going to do anything with the high school.
No.
I mean, it is.
There's not much I think we could do.
There's not much we could do.
One thing that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought that up, is the lighting that they used here, especially on the far side of the parking lot, is very similar to what we're installing here. Same manufacturer in some cases. There's a lot of RAB lighting that's being used in the town now, but also that what they consider to be full cutoff or dark sky approved. All the fixtures that they've installed in the town are dark sky approved now. So to keep that flow and keep that that trend going on, I think is important.
Yeah. Okay.
And part of it is we're moving towards a green community in town, so I think this is just one other step to get towards that green community, which obviously helps incentivize with grants and other money that will come into the community to help offset any other expenses for projects that you're looking to do.
Thank you.
You had mentioned that the exterior were LED. Is that the interior as well?
It's a good question. The gymnasiums, yes. This longer, slender fixture you see here is what we're proposing to install in the gymnasiums in place of the T5 lighting you have now.
Which are fluorescents.
Those are fluorescent lighting, high output. It's a very good fixture. We actually still sell that fixture today to certain types of manufacturing. But the utility company's incentivizing the LED right now. It's a good opportunity to get into it. So basically, replacing the T5 with LED in the gymnasiums would be the interior LED that we implement. As far as the T8 lighting, which you have now, we have T5 above our heads now, but T8 lighting is very common in all of the schools. 99% of the lighting in those schools is T8. The ballasts are at the end of their life. There definitely has been some replacements over the years, and those ballasts most likely are okay, but the majority of those ballasts are still the original existing T8 instant start ballast, which is what was the most efficient thing at the time installed in those schools. To convert the lamps to LED, which they do make an LED lamp that can go inside those schools now, would be impossible because the existing instant start T8 ballast cannot run these LEDs. So one of the questions that was brought to us earlier in this process was, why not install LED lamps now while we're doing the ballast, do it all at once? So we ran those numbers and we found that the paybacks were very long. And the reason was that the LED linear tubes that replace T8, high efficiency T8, we'll say, reduced wattage is what they call it, lamps, is too expensive. It's not the time yet. If we wait and we install the high efficiency ballast now with what they consider to be a reduced watt, extended performance 28 watt T8 lamp throughout the entire school system, other than the high school, we can come back 5 years from now when that lamp is at the end of its life, and the utility company will incentivize the replacement of just the lamp to LED. And at that point, that LED lamp will be much less expensive because it's going to have been in production and been being used throughout the area, not just school systems, but all throughout the industry. And we'll get a much better return. So by extending it out, we get a great return now. We get the product that gives you the best possible scenario with today's technology, and we leave a door open to continue using these ballasts, which are the majority of the cost of the project, for LED in the future.
So will teachers, students notice a difference in lighting?
I'm going to say no. And the reason why is we always do schools after class. We don't do them while school is active, even though some school systems have recommended it, saying, oh, it's great for the students. It really would disturb class fairly well. But it's not for that purpose. The reason why we typically do them over the summer or at second or third shift is because if you see something happening, you're going to notice it the next day. Whereas when we come in and we take a classroom apart completely, we put it back together with these high efficiency ballasts, we put the high efficiency lamps in, the actual lumens per watt is so similar that you can't see it with the naked eye.
Correct.
So if you don't know there's been a change, it's not going to bother you.
Correct.
And one of the very good things that Tom brought up, he said, what about the color of that lamp? Is that lamp going to be the same color that they're used to now? And the answer to that is yes. We are using a 4100 Kelvin lamp throughout the school system.
So I heard you say the bulbs last about 5 years?
They're warranted for 5 years.
Okay, and then how much does it cost to replace them?
Per lamp, right now, if the school system were to go out and purchase a box of lamps from the same distributor that we use, which I think we actually use the same one in this case, you're looking at somewhere around $3 to $3.25 per lamp. Now, to go out and purchase the lamp you have right now is at this time is exactly the same, $3 to $3.25 per lamp. Being that they're phasing that lamp out, bringing in this new style of T8 lamp, the cost of the existing lamps that you have now is going to rise. And the same thing will happen in 5 years or so when they're phasing out the lamp that we're using here and installing LED. That'll give us an opportunity to step up to that next lamp style.
And I want to be clear, because we did inquire, because the town did receive 2,400 bulbs or some number of bulbs through a grant through Western Mass this summer, that these projects will not in any way violate that grant award. We won't be penalized for now switching out those bulbs that we just replaced 3 or 4 months ago. So Kim Kiernan from Western Mass was at our meeting when Kim was there, and she acknowledged that there will be no issue moving forward with these projects on that grant.
And you had also brought up at Finance Sub that this project would be exempt from needing to go out to bid.
Correct. There is an exemption in Mass General Law 30B, which is the procurement law for Massachusetts, that entering into an agreement directly with the utility exempts it. They are a vendor to the Western Mass Electric or Northeast Utilities, but our payments will be made directly to the utility, not to Advanced Energy Group. So Chad has sent it to me in writing that it is exempt.
Okay. John?
Do we need a motion now to move forward?
I would say yes, that would be the next step, and also to authorize either myself or Marie or Janet, somebody to sign the contracts on behalf of the committee.
You have that motion written down?
No, but I would say that you would move approval of the lighting retrofit projects as outlined, and we can submit this form for the 5 projects as listed, and authorize the Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations to sign the contracts on behalf of the school committee.
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second.
Sorry.
Any further discussion? Okay. Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay.
Unanimous.
Unanimous vote.
Very good.
Thank you
very much.
for your time
Thank you
and
much
for
for
your
your time.
presentation and for
You're good.
all of your answering all your questions. That was very helpful.
And if you continue to have questions, don't hesitate to call. Tom has our card. You can get a hold of us anytime.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. All right. Anything else from
Thank you,
Finance Sub?
I do have one more item I'd like to discuss. I handed out a form with some information regarding consideration of entering into a new contract for electricity for the schools. So I want to kind of go through this. Mark Gold in the past has suggested that the town and schools kind of get on the same schedule for contracting for our electricity. Our contract, which we are currently we have in place, expires in January of 2015. It was a 3-year contract. We currently pay for the commodity, which is the generation of the electricity, 0.0701 cents per kilowatt hour. So just over 7 cents per kilowatt hour was what we entered into, it's been a very good rate. Cost of electricity on a kilowatt hour has been going up. At the top, there are 2 different options. When the high school was built, we had to switch out our electricity meter, and the new meter created a new account, and our contract would not allow us to substitute that account from the old account at the high school, and so we have been purchasing off of the spot market, which hasn't been too bad, but it is about to go up to 15 or so cents for the winter months. So option 1 for a large account starting in November would be for the high school through the next 3 months, and then all of the other accounts starting as of February 1st. And you can see they've offered 3 different time periods, whether it be a year, 2 years, or 3 years, taking us out through October of that year, anywhere from 9 cents, 9.3, up to 9.9 cents per kilowatt hour. Option 2, which again, it just gives us a higher kilowatt for the next 3 months for the high school exclusively, starting in November when our meter reading occurs, and that would give us a rate of 13.4 cents just for the high school for those 3 months. And then as of February 1st, or February's reading, we could then enter into a new amount for all of the other schools. Again, depending upon 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year term will dictate the rate. Where we consolidated with the town, it actually is not cost beneficial to us or the town to get onto the same schedule at this time. The very bottom line where it has Town of Long Meadow, all accounts you can see that the rates for any 12-month, 18-month, or 24-month period are all lower than if we were to just back out and this town would go out on their own. I met with Paul Pasterzik and Steven this morning. We shared this information about what the rates would look like, and they concurred that based on this information is not cost beneficial for us to move forward trying to set up or enter into a term that terminates or starts at the same time. What they're going to do is probably wait to enter into an agreement because their contract doesn't expire until December of 2015. So they have another 10 or so months after ours expires. And what they will try to do is end their contract when ours do, which would be sometime in either October 15, 16, or 17. I'm recommending option 2, which is what I highlighted, which would get us through October of 2017. Based on the information, from talking to our energy consultant at the collaborative, the cost of natural gas has been rising, and right now about 65% of electricity is produced from natural gas. So as natural gas continues to go up, we're going to continue to see an increase in the kilowatt cost. So I would say let's lock in for 3 years while we can before the rates go up anymore. And then the town would follow suit when their contract expires and probably enter into about a 2-year agreement so that they would terminate in October of 2017 also. On the bottom, I also show you we use currently about 4.3 million kilowatt hours a year. I know there's some discussion about looking at solar. Again, these retrofit proposals will help bring down some of our usage. So the more we can bring it down, the better off we'll be. So even with the savings we're going to see converse effect of increased rates effective come February of next year. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions you might have.
Is kilowatt-hour usage on par with other communities? Trying to electrify
I would have to
the
ask,
same number of buildings?
I would have to check with them, John. I mean, I think a lot of it's dependent upon your fixtures, the age of your buildings. We have New High School, which has increased our consumption a little bit than what the old building. But I really don't know. I haven't ever really checked. I could ask around and see what Hampton, Wilbraham, and East Long Meadow and other like districts have for total consumption.
Is lighting the biggest part of the electric budget?
I think in this building it's more the HVAC system. It's all the fans that are used to circulate the air, warm and cool air to set the comfort level within the building. I think you heard that the lighting fixtures are very efficient throughout this building, both interior and exterior. So I think it's the amount of mechanical devices that are used to operate the HVAC system.
Okay, thank you.
And Tom, the reason you're bringing this up today is because we need to move forward quickly.
We could wait on entering into agreement, but usually the winter you start seeing prices rise, which is why you see a difference in the 3 months for the high school, November through January, of 3.5 to 4 cents, based on the fact that it's just limited to those months because they do have an increase during the winter months for electrical use. I'm suggesting we move because that rate will be even higher for the high school. Our contract doesn't end, but my guess would be if we wait too long, we're going to see higher prices across the board.
Okay.
Because we will need to do something by January when our contract expires.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and
Okay,
approve
Joseph,
it.
I think had a question.
Oh, excuse me.
I'd like to second the suggestion that we go with the longer options. I work with a company called Viridian Energy, and Mr. Mesa did some work over the summer and looked at this, and the whole industry is moving towards longer terms because he's correct in saying that natural gas prices are rising. That's a huge part of the charge, and so a lot of the industry is expecting higher prices.
Okay. So John, you were going to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize Tom to go ahead and and enter into the necessary contracts to help us take advantage of these rates.
So option 2.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion?
Could you just add to the motion that you authorize me to sign the contracts on your behalf, please?
We would love to.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's added.
Okay. So voting on the motion as amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Okay.
Thank you.
You are quite welcome.
That is it.
Anything else?
Nope. That's it.
Anything else from Finance Sub? Really? You sure?
Thank you.
Okay. All righty. School Building Committee update.
Okay, I attended the meeting Thursday night, and great progress has been made on the punch list. It's been greatly reduced. There's still some items that we're working on, but it looks like we're very close to resolving and adjusting the final figures. There will be a proposal coming forward to ask the town for funding to cover expenses that were not included in the original school building budget. For example, the swimming pool, asbestos abatement on the walls outside of this. It's largely this building here, which is Building A.
Was all of the final commissioning done? Did they talk about that at all?
Financial.
The commissioning,
The reports from the last commissioning.
And the chips.
I have not seen them yet.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. Legislative, anything, John?
Well, the legislature, the Great and General Court is not in session right now, but I'll just mention Election Day is coming up, the 4th of November, here in Long Meadow. Voting's from 7 to 8 at the Community House, and without getting into specific recommendations, there are a lot of education issues that are at stake in this election, so I hope people are preparing themselves properly to go to the polls.
Okay. Green team, Liz?
We haven't met.
Okay. Operations Sub?
We have a meeting set for tomorrow.
Okay. Seal?
I know they had a meeting on the 8th, but unfortunately I couldn't attend, so I don't have a report.
Okay. But we could move right on into Lower Pioneer Valley.
Yes.
Because I see lots of what's there.
We had a very productive, long meeting the other night. So we are approaching we have a tentative agreement with our bus drivers. They are in the process of forming their union, and hopefully it will be finalized within the next couple weeks. We also are adding a new shop program for pre-machining, which will be the second shop that's been added in the past 2 years. They added early childhood last year, and that's been getting rave reviews. They're looking to ensure that we have enough students to be in these shops, which seems kind of strange. I know we've heard a lot of vocational education in the news lately. Just making sure that all districts are giving kids and parents enough information to know what options are there at Pioneer Valley. And I know we have a superintendent's meeting coming up. And Maria, I think you replied that you're going to try to be at this one.
We have negotiations, so it will depend whether or not it's. When I was on the hiring committee for the director last year, I suggested that a couple times a year the board should meet with the superintendents. We never get to do that. So hopefully we'll be out soon enough for negotiations because the meeting's at 6:30. So
yeah. So, and that's it.
Okay. I know middle school, we're going to be looking at dates. Policies. I'm sorry, did you?
Yeah.
Dates to meet. Policy Sub?
We have to schedule a meeting.
Okay. Joint Energy. Kim, I don't know whether you or Michael want to...
I'll talk.
Please.
First, thank you for voting for the new lights at the schools. That was one of our projects. We need to officially, I guess, appoint for this subcommittee. In talking with Marie Angelides, it's kind of a joint committee between them and us, and we need to kind of make it official. So I guess, I don't know, Liz, if you want to, should we just, do we just kind of?
Motion for you to appoint us as members of this joint committee, I think.
Sure. Who would like to move?
So move.
Motion, do I have a second? Oh, you're on the committee. Can I have a second? Second. Okay. All those in favor of appointing Kim, Liz, and Michael to the Joint Energy Committee? All those in favor? Okay. Congratulations on your official committee assignments.
So what we're trying to do is reduce costs overall between the town and the schools. As we know, the energy costs are going up every month. And so one of the things that we're looking at, aside from the energy audits, is solar panels. We're moving towards the idea of solar panels. We'd like to explore and get the approval from the school committee to get an RFP moving for solar panels on the 6 school buildings that we have, if possible. It's not a commitment to do it. It's just a commitment to to put forth an RFP. Is that the right language?
Yes, it is.
So we just need to vote.
So we need a motion and a vote to go forward with an RFP for solar panels.
Right.
Are we looking to put out an RFP for purchasing solar panels, leasing them, or both? Or anything that anyone comes up with?
Both. I think we would look.
Option.
Okay.
We would like to look at all the options.
Probably best not to limit ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So could I have a motion?
You want me to make a motion? You want me to make a motion?
I don't know. Can you? I don't know.
I'll make the motion.
John will make the motion. All
I
right.
move that we make some requests for proposals for solar panels to be installed on each of the school's 6 buildings with all options available, purchase and rental or lease.
Motion, do I have a second? Second. Second. All those in favor? Okay.
Could I mention something too? It's just
Absolutely,
ancillary.
John.
The current issue of Scientific American has an article on the solar panel business and solar power in general. And I haven't finished reading it, but it's quite good. And it seems to be a rather authoritative source. This business is booming. And with all kinds of startups, there's some people who are legit and producing what they claim they are, and others who are not. And there's differences in quality. But having said that, I think the emphasis in our RFP should be, let's find as many options as possible and look at track records of companies, et cetera. Because anybody can call themselves a solar panel installer these days.
Well, I think that's the reason for the RFP. And Maria Angeles has been doing some research on this as well. And she's found a company, and I think they're doing something up in, is it Amherst that they're doing it, Liz? I can't remember what she said, which town. But basically, there's some benefits to be, we kind of want to advertise out to the town. And we need to get something like 100 people to participate.
I said that.
Or did you get, oh, okay.
It was, it's part of, I think, of the Green Communities in Amherst as well. And if they get, I think it was 60 houses in the town, they get a large amount of grant money.
Right.
So maybe we could work something out like that.
Is it just like from one company or like any solar panels?
I think it's like a Massachusetts.
Okay.
It's yeah. And I
Still trying to make
should
some money.
note that by, I think that one of the gentlemen mentioned it earlier, by doing the energy audits that we just approved, the lighting, I guess for the grant that we get through the Green Communities Act, the amount increases every year by a percentage of savings that we have. I think we need to have about a 20% savings in the town each year to get a little bit more of the grant money as a town. And by approving the lighting, we just contributed a lot to that. So I think that was a good thing. And I think, looking at the solar panels on top of the schools is another way to hopefully get some more grant money from the state.
If what you're talking about with the 60, like that is an option, that'd be really interesting to look into. And me personally, I would, like I said before, I work with a company that does this, and just in the last year, I've installed, well, not I, but I've worked with clients who decided to install solar panels on their houses. So I mean, like, just little old me got 2, I'm sure like a big push, we could probably get very close to that very easily.
It'll be interesting to hear the updates on that. The enrollment committee met, and we've just begun a very long and involved process. We're conducting a study to make recommendations to the school committee regarding enrollments at both the elementary and the middle school levels. We recognize there is a higher number of students at Blueberry Hill compared to Wolf Swamp and to center schools, just as there's a higher number of students at Williams if you compare that to Glenbrook. The committee that has been created is beginning to examine the following, which is the enrollment trends, both past and future predictions. We're looking at current class sizes. We are going to be analyzing building capacities, looking at demographic studies, trying to obtain a scattergram of where children reside in town, looking at issues of potential grandfathering students and the impact that that decision would have on enrollments. But please understand, this is going to take several months of intense analysis before any recommendations will come forth before school committee. For those in the community, we understand that this is a great concern as families love their home schools, and we promise to do our best to minimize disruption to students while attempting to balance our populations at the schools. So we will be meeting again. Right now, we've been charged with finding more data on these things that I've mentioned, and we will continue to move forward looking at that. But we do recognize that there is an equity in the numbers in the schools, which has an impact on the buildings, maximum usages. So we are moving forward with that. And one other item that we do need to take a vote on this evening is the appointment of Mr. Thompson to the Technology Advisory Board. We had met jointly with the Select Board to do the interview, and that evening they had voted. They had already interviewed Mr. Thompson prior, and there is a 2-week waiting period. So just to make things official, I would entertain a motion to approve Mr. Thompson for the Joint Technology Advisory Board.
Excuse me, is that the gentleman who was at our...
That was the gentleman who we interviewed that evening. Yes, John. This is just to make it official.
Thank you.
So can I have a motion to...
So moved.
Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, so Mr. Thompson is officially part of the Technology Advisory Board now. Okay, policies. We have 3 policies.
We got 2 policies.
Okay, would you like to carry on with that?
Yeah, so we have 3 policies that were posted to the district website. 2 of them are being put in front of us for a vote tonight. The third one was the social media policy, IJNDD, which Tom Landers has asked that we make further revision to, so we'll be adding that to the next agenda of our policy subcommittee.
Okay.
So I move on the recommendation of the policy subcommittee that the school committee approve policy JIC, student conduct, as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
It's important to note that no feedback was provided on this policy.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? Unanimous? Okay.
And I move on the recommendation of the policy subcommittee that the school committee approve policy JRA-R, access to student records, as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Again, there was no feedback or community comments provided on this policy either.
Okay. All those in favor? Again, a unanimous vote. Okay. I jumped ahead. We already reappointed Mr. Johnson. Acceptance of a grant. Gift. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Liz.
My class of 1994, we have our 20-year reunion coming up. That's
student just told me, oh, I was born that year. Anyway.
Who just told you that?
A student.
Joseph?
I was born in 97.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so we came up with an idea to put money together in honor of those who passed, and one especially Dr. Hannah Koljewski, who parents do a lot of scholarships for our school. Anyway, we want to buy some lights to illuminate the Long Meadow High School sign outside, the granite one.
Are you talking about at the end where Grassy
At
Gutter
the
is?
entrance, right.
Is that granite? It looks like cement.
Oh, sorry.
It is.
Unless
The
I'm missing,
sign.
is there another?
No, I don't know.
It's a
I
cement.
thought it was granite.
It's just like the one we have for Long Meadow Public Schools, right? Yeah.
That was my idea for my senior class gift, so I think you were stealing it.
20 years too late.
Yeah, maybe we'll do this one.
Liz, are these lights going to be retrofitted as well?
Let's not look a gift horse in the mouth.
I know,
Michael.
really. So at our reunion, we're raising money to purchase these lights, and they are lights chosen by our DPW, so everything's in conjunction and okayed, and any money that we do not raise, Dr. Koljewski will chip in.
Do you know what you're expecting it to cost?
Under $1,000.
We'll be good on that.
Is there a person's name attached to this?
We hope to have a small plaque, and we're not sure where to put it in the, like, near the plaque.
Because
things in
doesn't that get into another committee's work?
It leads into the naming committee.
The naming committee?
For the lights?
Well, they're going to put a name on.
On the light.
Well, I wouldn't say it's like this person's lights. It would just be
You
a
can- I
thank
think
you to
just a little-
Yeah,
Just
just
a
a
gift
little
made by.
a gift made by.
Like on the lights themselves.
I think that's okay.
Yes, or I don't know, wherever it could go, wherever it could attach.
Okay. Now they're going to be placed into the cement.
No, I believe they will be in the
ground,
ground
and they're gonna
in the
just
earth and
illuminate
pointed at the sign.
I got it. Okay.
On both sides.
Yeah, you'll be able to see their sign, but it would be nice to identify they gifted that.
Correct.
Okay, so could I have a motion?
I move that the school committee accept with genuine appreciation the gift from the Long Meadow High School class of 1994 of lights to illuminate the Long Meadow High School concrete sign in front of the school.
Okay.
The expected value of this gift is $1,000.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Could you imagine if it was really granite?
That'd be kind of cool.
We would really be hearing from people if it was granite.
Okay, he removed the word granite.
Paper mache.
Warrants?
Okay.
94.
I move the school committee approve the warrant batch number 2200 school lunch fund for fiscal year 2015, dated 31 October 2014, in the amount of $1,926.46.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
I didn't tweet it.
Okay.
We're all in favor.
Okay, good.
Okay, I move the school committee approve the warrant batch number 2015 of the general operating fund for fiscal year 2015, dated 31 October 2014, in the amount of $308,802.94.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Did you want a picture with our hands up, Joseph?
Sure.
Okay.
Is this the whole
All
one?
right, hands ready. This was how I was gonna tell everyone that the school committee has approved
The checks.
the checks.
Okay.
People are more receptive to images. You get a lot more favorites.
Gotta love you, Joseph.
Thank you.
All right. We do have a consent agenda.
I'm not signing it.
I move on the recommendation of the superintendent that the school committee approve the consent agenda for the October 27th, 2014 school committee meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Minutes. I would suggest for executive session that we...
They're not there. They're not. The June 9th ones still aren't here.
The June one.
Did you get my email?
Okay.
Are we, June or July? June 9th.
Okay, so can I have a motion for the September 22nd?
I move that the school committee approve the minutes to the September 22nd, 2014 school committee meeting as presented.
Motion, do I have a second? Okay, all those in favor? Okay. And I would recommend approving but not releasing executive session from September 2nd.
I move that the school committee approve the minutes to the executive session for the September 22nd, 2014 school committee meeting as presented.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay. There is an executive session planned.
Can I ask, what happened to the June 9th?
They're not ready yet.
They're not ready? Oh.
I don't know if you want to revote what you voted the last time. So in your meeting of October 14th, you voted to approve the executive session minutes for June 9th. However, they were not in your packets. The executive session minutes that were in your packet were for August 25th. So I think there was confusion as to which ones you were voting on.
Okay.
So you had voted to approve June 9th's minutes and not release them, although they weren't even in your packet, and that was my error. I should have taken it off the comments sheet.
So we just need to correct our vote that it be for the August 25th executive session to approve and not release.
Correct.
Okay, so can I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
Okay, motion second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay. So we've officially now approved and not released the August 25th executive session minutes.
Great.
Okay, so executive session.
Can I ask a quick
Oh, I'm
question?
sorry, Kim, you had another question.
I do, just because before we go into executive
Yes.
session, I know that comments are in order, but I feel like I wanted to go back a little bit and find out what is the process, just because I've only been on this committee now for a year and a few months. I guess in case anybody is watching, for the parents that might have some concerns that have gone through the proper channels. So if they've gone to their teacher and voiced some concern, they've gone to their principal and talked with her, and they've met with Marie, and they're unsatisfied with the results so far.
Then they can ask, then they can come speak at school committee or ask to place an item on our agenda.
Okay.
How could they be unsatisfied when the principals have met, the teachers still need to meet and give their input, and there needs to be time for everyone in the district to have input into this decision? Is the expectation?
I'm just asking. I think.
Is the expectation that I should change things immediately when we have one grade level at one school that's not pleased with what's happening?
Well, I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to find out what the proper channels are. And then the other question was, I have thought myself about a possible survey, and I don't know how we discuss something like that as a group. The thoughts of a survey came up there as well, but I know that I've thought about it and talked about it with people as well, and so I just wanted to see how we go about talking about that more.
Each of the schools had surveys, and in particular, Blueberry had a survey that was designed by the school council that came back rather positive, because we had talked about concerns last year as well, and the school survey did not indicate any of the concerns that have been brought forward.
I personally had some problems with that survey. I didn't think it had the questions that we needed to address. But I know I didn't have a really good, I didn't get to say, I know that some of the other schools had a survey I thought was probably more helpful. But I'm just, in light of stuff going on in the community, I just would like to bring forth the idea of talking at least about a survey again, and how that would go about.
I think a survey would be a great idea.
Michael, can I just ask you as past chair, would that be an agenda item for us to have open discussion about?
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Right. I think that's where you're trying to go, is where does Kim go with us discussing having a survey for parents and or teachers regarding issues that are being brought up? Does that get put on as an agenda item? Does that go? I'm unclear as to where that goes. That's why I'm trying.
It's a good question, because I haven't really dealt with that particular scenario. I mean, I think the most appropriate thing would probably be, I mean, they came tonight and they expressed their concerns. I think that seeing a response from school committee would be important, even if it's just a letter or, a comment at our next meeting, just, identifying the fact that speaking to the fact that we heard their concerns and outlining what type of ways we plan to respond. But I think that our response could potentially be an agenda item, or I think that it might be appropriate as well if you, in your capacity as chairperson, work directly with Marie to present a plan back to school committee on how to respond. Taking the advice or the commentary that we heard. I mean, I don't know how productive it would be if we all kind of sat here and all 7 of us gave our ideas about how we should do this and that. I think if you all presented a plan to us, we could then kind of work off that. I mean, does that sound like something that could be beneficial?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea to do a district survey to see what everyone's feeling, because we get pockets of opinions, and it would be great to put it out to everybody and see what they're thinking and how they're feeling. Right. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, because the surveys that went out at the schools before were different.
Right.
I figure if we had one district-wide survey that was the same questions that went out to every parent.
I mean, ultimately, I think when we hear from parents, we need to remember that we're accountable to them, and as residents and as voters in this community who put us here. And, we may not always agree with what they're asking. We may not always be able to do what they're asking, but at least, providing them with the opportunity to understand that they're heard, and that, we've given it the consideration that we're going to give it is, I think, important.
Okay, so perhaps then, before our next meeting, Marie, you and I can meet. Oh, yes, John, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I'd like to just comment on this. It appears to me that all of the criticism is coming from one school. Is that correct?
Well,
it's coming from one school, and we've asked people to work through the chain of command. If you have a problem with your child's education, speak to the child's teacher. And if you're not satisfied there, then ask to go to the principal. No satisfaction there, then it goes to the superintendent. But at a certain point in time, I think you have to tell people, look, if you want to change a policy that the school committee has approved, well, it's just not your power. The school committee has approved a policy for the elementary schools. And I'm just struck by the fact that I have not had one phone call except from one parent who was there tonight. And that was sort of like a background call. But I haven't heard any complaints from Wolf Swamp Road School or Center School. And people, I think, know that I'm on the school committee, and if they have something, they can say to me. So I'm just saying, because we have an appeals process, doesn't mean they're going to be happy with the final result of that. There are people who've had concerns about special education, for example, who have contacted me, and I told them, I'll work it out with your teacher, the principal, and then the director of special education. They're still not satisfied. Well, we can't satisfy them completely. We can do our best and make a good faith effort. And I think that's what we have to do as a committee. But I think we also have to defend policy once we set it up, or at least let the policy work for a year and then evaluate it.
And I think, John, you bring a valid point. Kim, you bring valid points, and I think, Michael, you summed it up in saying that, parents have brought concerns to us. It's our responsibility to at least investigate, and address those issues, whether that, is to their liking or not, may not be, because we are looking out at the best interest for all students at all levels, but it is certainly something that we should at least discuss, and like you suggested, Marie and I, come up with a presentation for the entire committee, which those parents would have access to. So I would suggest that you and I meet before next meeting to prepare something for the committee.
Sure.
Does that answer your question in terms of, and thank you for your insight.
Well, and what I guess, and kind of going back to the visitor comments for a second, if I can,
please do.
No, just, what struck me was that, we heard from Lee and from Jess that the teachers, and we know that, we know that there are teachers that are upset, but we're all very visible people, and they maybe feel uncomfortable coming to us, as people on the school committee. But I guess I'm surprised that they're not coming to us more if they're concerned. That they haven't, they feel like they've gone through the channels, but they're not.
The parents or
no, the teachers. I'm concerned that, I guess what's interesting is that, if they feel like they've talked to Marie and then they feel like they've talked to Marie, or they feel like they've talked to Donna and Neil and then they talked to Marie, and they're still not satisfied why we haven't heard more from them. And not that I'm encouraging that, but I just find it, we're all over town. We all have relationships with individual teachers.
And I think the other point is they also have their union reps to speak with,
right,
for any concerns. And we don't have access to union reps. Marie does, and
right.
She's not indicated that there's anything via the union. So just like parents have a chain of command
right.
protocols, of people to follow, so do the teachers.
Yeah, and I guess that's not, and I guess my point is not to say that what we heard tonight isn't happening. I'm sure it is happening. I'm sure that they are voicing opinions. I'm surprised that we're not hearing more about it.
I think also the teachers have a grievance process that's outlined in the contract. And if there were concerns that were not being resolved, they would come to your level. The chain of command goes teacher, principal, assistant superintendent, superintendent, and then if they disagree, it goes above me to you, where you have to sit in on the grievance to resolve the issue. So you would know if there were ongoing problems because grievances, and you've had none come to you in my 5 years.
So I think that perhaps, with Marie and I working on all of these details to give both school committee and parents a better understanding of the procedures to follow, the procedures that are in place for both sides, hopefully that will answer some of the questions.
Well, and we have communications and operations tomorrow. Can we talk about that a little in communications? I think some of this
sure
correlates, I think.
Okay. Go
this
ahead.
Just seems like very disconcerting that I don't know. It just, when we talk about the the levels of where we can go when there's issue, it just feels like there's no protocol has just been ignored, and it's creating a very emotional response from.
I don't think it's been ignored. This particular group has met with the teachers, has met with the principal, has met with Marie. She met with a large group of parents and hammered out a plan in which they were in agreement with, last I knew. And so tonight is kind of the first night that they've come back with the same kinds of concerns. And I think the answer is, if we answered them tonight, would be the same that we gave them when we sat with them, a couple of weeks ago. Actually, it was a little longer than that now. We asked them to give us some time to hammer out some, scheduling kinds of things. We gave teachers more permission to be more flexible. Even though they had it from the get-go, I think they were a little unclear, especially at Blueberry, about that. So I don't know what new answers we can give this parent group now, but we did promise to have answers for them at the first of the month, or Marie promised them that.
And I did ask, the meeting was on September 30th, that they allow us time to do the work that we needed to do internally. I don't operate as a dictator. I'm not going to make changes without input of teachers and administrators. It takes time to do that. You also have the administrative team asking that the teachers have time to try this and come back and make an informed decision, not to have a knee-jerk reaction. We know that there are problems with it. We know there are things that we need to address, but we're working with the district. We're not working with one grade level that clearly have concerns, and they've raised good concerns. I mean, in my meeting with the teachers, I've followed up with some of the concerns about special ed plans, locking them in. There have been lots of details that have come up that have not been shared, nor do you need to know every detail. But there have been lots of meetings, lots of conversations, lots of follow-up. But I did ask the parents to allow me till December 1st to do the work I need to do to make the changes.
Right.
So I think maybe we just need to reiterate, like, we appreciate everyone's patience while we make it the best. Perhaps that needs to be in the communication too.
Yeah, or just updating them, like what you described. If you can put that down, and then we can get that out to the parents that are concerned, I think that would help. They're feeling lost, like my child has been in school since September, and this is going wrong, and I don't know how it's going to get fixed, and I'm uncomfortable waiting. So let's update them of what you said, because I think a lot has already happened.
And I think the other thing that everyone needs to be cognizant of, both school committee and parents, is unfortunately this isn't the only issue that we're dealing with. We are all dealing with a multitude of issues on many, many levels, and this is just one. So while it is taking time, and I understand as a parent, waiting 2 months is difficult, but to realize that there are many other areas that we are still working on simultaneously. So it's not that it's being ignored, and maybe the updates aren't there as much as you'd like, but an 8-week time frame till another meeting, in the grand scheme of things, when you throw in fall break, you throw in Thanksgiving break, isn't really a long time. So just asking for everyone's patience, while we're working through this. It's not being ignored. It is being discussed, and like Marie said, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, but she and I will work out a presentation for our next meeting. Okay? So, we do have executive session. I know. Can I have a motion, Michael?
Oh, yeah. I move that the school committee adjourn into executive session for the purpose of strategy as it relates to collective bargaining with Unit A and contract negotiations with non-union personnel, the superintendent, to reconvene into open session. This motion requires a roll call vote.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote. Liz?
Aye.
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 Okay, so we will now be in...
Can I amend my motion?
I'm sorry.
And I need to amend the motion to include potential,
An update
is it
on potential
threatening litigation?
Yes.
Threatening litigation.
I
Okay.
second that.
Okay. Do we need to roll call again?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Okay, so we will now move into executive session.
A lot of stuff going down.
Convening into open session. Thank you.
We'll stay here.